Welcome to Perspectives, a special presentation of the Power of the Patient Project. Today's guest is Dr. Ray Dorsey. And now, here is your host, Charlotte Grinnell.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Grinnell, and welcome to Perspectives presented by the Power of the Patient Project. My guest today is Ray Dorsey, MD. Dr. Dorsey is the David M. Levy Professor of Neurology and Director of the Center of Health and Technology at the University of Rochester. Through creative use of technology, him and his colleagues seek to enable anyone, anywhere to receive care, participate in research, and benefit from the therapeutic advances. Dr. Dorsey previously directed the Movement Disorders Division in Neurology Telemedicine at Johns Hopkins and worked as a consultant for McKinsey & Company. His research has been published in leading medical, neurology, and economic journals and has been featured on National Public Radio, in the New York Times, in the Wall Street Journal. In 2015, the White House recognized him as the champion for change for Parkinson's disease. Welcome, Dr. Dorsey. Thank you so much for joining us and having this discussion today.
My pleasure, and you can call me Ray, please.
Yeah, great. Ray, could you start by explaining what Parkinson's disease is and what the symptoms are?
So Parkinson's disease is the world's fastest growing brain disease. Over the last 25 years, the number of people with the disease has more than doubled, and absent change, it will double again in the coming 25. Classically, the features of Parkinson's disease are tremor, shaking of the hands, slowness of movement, a slower shuffling gait, and troubles with balance. But we now know that it's far more than that, and that many of the features of Parkinson's disease likely begin outside the brain, with loss of smell and constipation being among the earliest features of the disease.
Okay, and so you mentioned the symptoms, but what are kind of like the daily struggles that patients with this disease may face?
They're large and numerous, and it's not just them, but it's their caregivers, their family, and their friends. So early on, people can live very highly productive and functional lives and be nearly independent. But as the disease progresses, people sometimes need assistance with walking. Sometimes they need assistance with bathing. Sometimes they just need help, buttoning their buttons, or getting out of a low-seated car or sofa. Some people have trouble swallowing their food in the later stage of the disease. Some people develop dementia and hallucinations, which can be very disabling. A lot of people have trouble sleeping. They can't even sleep throughout the night. They get confused, they get disoriented, they wake up, they go to the bathroom countless times at night, and not going to disturb their sleep and their health and their well-being, but that of their caregivers as well.
Wow, I can't even imagine. That sounds so hard. And you wrote a book called Ending Parkinson's Disease. There it is. And it, first of all, had really great reviews, so congratulations on that. What was the main message that you kind of hoped to get across to your readers?
The main message is that Parkinson's disease is like many diseases, and many of the causes of Parkinson's disease are preventable. Many of the causes of Parkinson's disease are preventable, and we can take an action at PACT, P-A-C-T, to prevent, advocate, care, and treat the condition to prevent people from ever getting it. Among the preventable causes are certain pesticides, one called paraquat. It's been banned by 32 countries, including China. It's considered the most toxic herbicide ever created. It kills the weeds that Roundup can't. And when you feed it to laboratory animals, they develop shaking in their paws, and they develop pathological features of Parkinson's disease.
Oh, wow.
The pesticide is still permitted in the United States. Its use has doubled over the last decade, tripled over the last 25 years, and was reapproved in October of last year. We need to ban paraquat, and we need to start finding ways to prevent people from ever developing the disease in the first place.
Wow, I had no idea about that. That's so interesting. Wow, is there any other kind of preventable actions that can be taken other than that, or is that the one?
Paraquat's not the only pesticide linked to Parkinson's disease. Another one called chlorpyrifos is considered one of the most widely used pesticides used on golf courses, for example. Is estimated to have cost 25 million children 17 million IQ points. 25 million children, 17 million IQ points. There's been legislation introduced previously in the Congress to ban this pesticide. There's another chemical called trichloroethylene, previously long time ago used in dry cleaning, widely used as a degreasing agent, found in half of toxic Superfund sites throughout the United States, increases the risk of Parkinson's by 500%. So those are just some chemicals that we can work to ban, like other countries have, and prevent people from ever experiencing their toxic effects.
Wow, that is so interesting. I'm definitely going to look more into that after this. I also read that you were investigating new treatments for movement disorders. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so there are a whole host of treatments that are in development. We mentioned a lot of the environmental causes. About 10 to 15% of people have predominantly genetic causes for their disease. And so there are gene-targeted therapies in development for Parkinson's disease, one that inhibits an overactive protein that's caused by a genetic mutation. There are also vaccines in development that instead of targeting COVID-19, they're targeting the misfolded protein in Parkinson's disease. And there's even immune or antibody-mediated therapies that, instead of targeting the virus in COVID-19, are targeting the misfolded protein in Parkinson's disease. So there are some new therapies in development that treat the underlying cause and the spread of the disease within the body.
Wow, I mean, that's great that research is going in. Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of where you see the future of Parkinson's research going, like kind of beyond that? Is there any other?
Can I read you a little bit of the book?
Yes, of course, that'd be great.
So there's a great story from breast cancer, and I'll read it to you. It's about the origins of the pink ribbon. And it begins with Charlotte Haley. So Charlotte Haley was a 68-year-old housewife living in a sprawling suburb of Los Angeles who picked up her own megaphone. Both her older sister and daughter have been diagnosed with breast cancer in the 1980s. Haley was frustrated by the lack of progress against the disease, especially the scarcity of funding for prevention. So she started a grassroots campaign in her dining room. There she began making little loops of peach-colored ribbons. She packaged 5 of them together and attached a postcard with a simple message. The National Cancer Institute's annual budget is $1.8 billion. Only 5% goes for cancer prevention. Help us wake up legislators in America by wearing this ribbon. She left them in doctors' offices, handed them out in grocery store parking lots, and mailed them to prominent women, including former first ladies. Her husband worked extra hours to pay for the photocopying, ribbons, and postage. She eventually made 40,000 of them, but Haley refused to accept financial support, returning any checks that she received and telling the donor to give the money to cancer research instead. And that's actually the origins of the pink ribbon. Came from the peach ribbon that Charlotte Haley was creating in her kitchen in a suburb of Los Angeles. And what was motivating her was that she saw the way to addressing breast cancer wasn't to cure breast cancer, but was to prevent people from ever getting it in the first place. And we spend very little of our time and energies on preventing Parkinson's disease, even though to a large extent it's preventable. And we need to change that focus, invest more research monies into understanding what are the preventable causes of the disease, banning chemicals that we know are linked to the disease, and making our voices heard.
Wow, that's an incredible story. I didn't know that that's where the origin of the ribbon came from. That's so great that she just did it from her home. So do you think, kind of going along with that, because she was bringing awareness to the cause, what is kind of a way that you think would be helpful to bring awareness to Parkinson's disease?
So we're coming out with a paperback version of the book on March 16th, and we're saying creating a campaign that's going to be focused on We Give a Dime about Parkinson's. And so before Charlotte Haley picked up her megaphone in the 1980s, a group of activists, a group of ordinary Americans in the 1930s mailed in a march of dimes to raise money to develop a vaccine to prevent and end polio. And they mailed in, on the first day of the campaign, like 30,000 letters, nearly shut down the White House mailroom. And they raised $2.7 million for a polio vaccine that Jonas Salk and later Albert Sabin developed. And with those monies, we essentially prevented polio. We don't even have polio treatment centers in the United States, and we've gotten rid of the disease altogether. We're looking to do a similar campaign to the White House about We Give a Dime about Parkinson's, and asking people, patients who are affected by the disease and their friends and family, to share their story with why they give a dime about Parkinson's. People are interested, they can learn more about the campaign, endingpd.org. Again, that's endingpd.org.
Wow, that's awesome. Sounds like you guys have a lot of good stuff coming up of bringing awareness and some great campaigns. I love that, the Give a Dime. It's like the simple things that can make a big difference. So that's so great. That's all the questions I had. If there's anything that you wanted to add again at the end, or if you feel like you said everything.
Well, we love the work that you're doing, and so if your listeners, if they will give 2 free signed copies of the book, they can just email us at info@endingpd, like Parkinson's disease, pd.org. Just say that they heard about it here. We'll give 2 free copies, and just please be sure to include your mailing address so we can send you a copy.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this. I really appreciate it. And I think that the listeners will really appreciate it too, learning a little bit more about this disease and about your book and all of that. So thank you so much for taking this time.
Many thanks, Charlotte. Thanks for all your efforts.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much.